Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here from Popternative, speaking to Vernon Davis about Gasoline Alley, which is going to be available February 25th. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for your time.
Hey, good to be here. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I mean, first thing that kind of comes to mind right now when I see this film, even when I see the announcement, is the amazing people you got to work with on this film. I mean, what was that like kind of working with this cast? I mean, that is unbelievable.
My face was like this when I first walked the set. Can you imagine, man, being in front of Bruce Willis, meeting Luke Wilson, and dude, it was incredible. Just the entire atmosphere. Whenever you're on set, I don't know if you've ever been to set, but it's a wonderful experience because the HMU hair and makeup department to the director, producer, I mean, everyone's coming together and just having a great time and doing what we do best, which is tell a story.
It's interesting too because, yeah, like you said, Bruce Willis, Luke Wilson, that's the big time. You're used to another big time when you were in the NFL type thing, right? But does it feel kind of similar a little bit with the scale of it kind of going in and it is big like in the NFL and then working on a movie? Does it feel similar a little bit?
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities there, especially when it's the preparation part. Like anything else, you want to be prepared whenever you. And for me, I think back when I was playing football, I was the last one on the football field because I wanted to make sure that I could catch every pass on game day. And just like going into a film, you want to have that same approach and everything will be fine.
There's going to be a point for your NFL career where, you're talking to your family, your friends, your team, being like, there's going to be something after football. You can't play football for your whole life type thing. When does it kind of sink in that performing and entertainment and movies might be the next step? Like, is that something you think of even while you were a professional football player, or does it just kind of happen?
I think because I was always an artist because I went to school for art studio, and art was always in my soul. So when you're an artist, you find yourself doing so many different things when it comes to being artistic, from music to dancing to acting to painting. It all correlates and goes together. So for me, I think this journey has been really enjoyable because of that. And it's not work. It's a hobby for me. And whenever you do anything that you appreciate and something that you enjoy, it has to be looked at as a hobby and not work. You can't take it too serious. You have to have fun and enjoy it.
When I got this interview confirmed with you, this is something I really wanted to talk to you about. When I was, my background's in media and communications in class, we had a class in media. We talked about the term spectacle of excess, and they gave examples of, the Super Bowl, WrestleMania, these kind of big scale events type thing. Movies are big scale events, and they gave examples of, Star Wars, spectacle of excess. What's your favorite thing about being part of these big kind of moments, these big spectacle of excess, Vernon?
I think the adrenaline when it comes to being a part of something like this, it's the adrenaline that you get. The adrenaline you and moves you throughout your journey, right? Mm-hmm. And I guess that comes from my background with sports and playing football. It's just the same thing. Mm-hmm. You get on a cloud, you're on a high that you don't want to come off of, and it's so enjoyable, and it feels like you want to just continue to do it for a lifetime, and that's what it's all about. You have to have that feeling.
You're doing kind of press for Gasoline Alley, and is it a little bit different in terms of kind of the marketing kind of promotion of things? It's starting to hit you a little bit because the film's coming out tomorrow. You're doing press, you're talking to a lot of outlets. Compared to like when you were a professional football player where, a couple of you're no stranger to the media and like media availabilities and everything, you know what I mean? So does it just feel like natural to you right now, kind of doing like stuff for movies right now, like interviews and stuff?
It feels totally natural, but the thing about it that's different is that I'm not talking about football. I'm not talking about the plays I made on Sunday. I'm talking about acting alongside big stars, you know what I mean? So it's just, or movies with guys like Bruce Willis. It's totally different. And it took me some time to get used to it because I had to understand that, hey, this is not the same thing. I'm not making plays anymore. I have to start here and work myself back up. And it's okay. it's okay to be in that space because we've been there before. You just have to stay positive, stay with a relentless attitude, and just take care of business and do what you have to do.
100%. You got to work with some people on this film that have been in some of the biggest movies, some of the best movies of all time. There's always going to be learning experiences no matter what project you kind of work on. Were there any kind of specific learning experiences on this film, kind of working with Devon, Luke, and Bruce? Like anything that comes to mind?
Learning experience. I think just watching them, that was the biggest thing. I wanted to go there and be able to watch them because they carried the movie all the way through.
Yeah.
And understand what they were doing so that I can know, so I can just feel that energy. You know, I wanted to be on the stage as those guys. So, I mean, that's like the greatest experience you can ever ask for, is just being on set with legends and seeing how they work the craft on a day-to-day basis.
100%. What can you tell us about your character in the film without going into spoilers? Like, what can we expect from Vernon Davis in Gasoline Alley?
Yeah, I think Kaiser embodying that character. I went back to my days being around bouncers and bodyguards and just taking that energy from them. And that's the first thing I could think about. I thought about this big security guard that I had when I got drafted, right? That was one, right? He was a nice guy, very nice guy. But when it comes to being handling business, he would step in and he would be tough. He had to put on this tough guy, but underneath he was a good dude and he had a heart, right? Mm-hmm. So I had to really try to find ways to put that into this character because, that's what I had to be. That's what I had to become. So acting, when it comes to breaking down a character and giving the character life, you go back to those experiences that you had and you find someone that you really think this character could be, right?
Yeah.
And you just search and just break down the script the way you need to break it down and just go to work.
When you're playing in the NFL, there's a lot of strategy. When you go in and kind of prepare for a role and read the script, it's still strategy like that and everything. Have you noticed that it depends on the project you're on? Like there might be situations where you prepare more by reading a script. Some situations you might not get the script in time. Like, are you noticing that different, like every movie that you work on is like a different game, basically?
Yeah, every movie is a different game. It all depends on the script when you get the script. As long as you know where you're coming from and where you're going, and you have an objective, and the verbiage, your dialogue has intent. Like, what is your intent behind what you're saying?
Yeah.
Right. You'll come across as natural and as real as possible, as long as you have the understanding of what's going on.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about being around these big actors. They want to know what's going on? What am I doing? Even though they know they have their objectives and they've broken down the scene, they still want to go to the director and see how he's feeling about it, right? Because they want to have the best performance possible.
Yep.
So when you get all those tools and all that perspective, you're able to go back, you're able to be full before you go on set and you go in front of the camera, right? And you'll be prepared as possible, as prepared as possible. And that's what it's about.
Absolutely. In the NFL, the position you played was tight end. You were a tight end. What is something you can tell us about that position that people might not know about? Any misconceptions, anything about the life of a tight end that we might not know about?
I think when it comes to being a tight end and playing that position, people don't understand, like, you have to know just as much as the quarterback knows. Like, you have to read coverages when you're released from the line of scrimmage. And playing with a guy like Sean McVay, he's always giving you these option routes. So you're constantly reading whether it's zone coverage, whether it's man-to-man, the middle field's open or closed. The tight end, he does all the dirty work. He's blocking for the running back. He's pass protecting for the quarterback. He's working with the offensive lineman, right? Mm-hmm. So he has to make sure if it's an outside run, he has to reach his defender and get leverage so that running back can get outside. So there's so many different technical things that you have to know when it comes to being a tight end. Yeah. And I don't think people really understand and appreciate that.
And the game has changed a lot and has evolved in the NFL. One thing that I don't think has kind of left is these game-changing, these players that could basically change a game. We saw it with the Rams with Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp. Is that something you're noticing now, kind of watching the game, that it was there when you were playing as well? There's these players that are able to make a difference week after week. It's there. They just impact players.
Yeah, usually that's how it's always been. It's always gonna be. I have players that are just players who just stand out more than others.
Yeah.
It's gift. It's just like anything else.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is. And when you have players like that, if I'm on defense and I have a guy like Cooper Kupp, we're going to game plan specifically for that guy. We don't really care about all the other guys. This is the guy right here we have to stop.
That's the guy.
For that team. So we want to make sure that we contain him, keep him under control, and just make sure we know what he's doing at all times.
Getting back to Gasol and Allen before we wrap up, the obvious answer to this question is you hope they enjoy it, have a good time, escapism. That's what movies are for. Any other takeaways when you hope the audience gets out of it when they get to watch Gasol and Allen?
Yeah, I hope the audience really enjoyed the movie. I hope they really like the work that the producer was able to do, the director, and just appreciate the work that's been put in. Because it's hard to make a movie. I mean, you have to, as a producer, you have to really make sure you're casting. You get a great casting director. You have a good line producer, and you're bringing all the pieces together. You want to make sure that your talent goes really well with the script, and they fit the character, and they're able to help tell that story that you want to put out. So there's a lot goes into it, but I hope the audience really love the creative work that we've been able to do collectively together to tell this story.
100%. And people are going to be able to see it very soon. Vernon, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming on Popternative. It was great chatting with you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Can you plug away quickly? I mean, the film's coming out February 25th, but people can follow you on social media, keep up to date with everything that you're doing, right? There's a lot going on with Vernon Davis. Instagram, yes. Right?
Yes, follow me on Instagram at Vernon Davis 85 to see all the latest news and just see all the fun that I'm having right now. And just to be a part of my life, and I can be a part of your life. Let's go. Let's do it.
Let's go. Absolutely. This has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. You're going to be able to catch Vernon Davis alongside Luke Wilson, Bruce Willis, Devon Sawa, and Gasol and Allen, available February 25th. Until next time, this is Vernon and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.